All right. Okay, first of all, welcome to Journey with Jay. Every Wednesday, I am so elated to have these two beautiful women who are so dear to my heart. I don't even remember when I met y'all. I feel like I was born to meet you all. Like, it's like, Jada's here. And then it's like, nah. Hey, Angie. Hey, Jay.
Whole life purpose, just summed up.
So today's topic on week 3, it really dawned on me, first of all, when I had this conversation with a UCSD alum, University of California, San Diego, my grad school, an alum put this post on Instagram about like Black women in the workforce and how often we are silenced by, if I'm honest, like white gatekeepers. Like when people are so quick to be like, no. And we're like, but that was our idea, by the way. Like, I, first of all, want to know your name. Of course, everybody has to know. And all your social media handles. Yeah, let's open up the conversation of like, have you experienced this in any way, shape, or form? And how have you gone about navigating those spaces where it's just hard to be?
Yeah.
Either anointed woman of Christ, Jesus of Nazareth.
Most anointed will go last.
Thank you, Angie. I was going to suggest you go first anyway. But that's okay. The last shall be first in this case. So I'll go first. I am Shay Caju. I'm so excited to be here. I'm just so proud of you, Jada, and everything, your journey, right? Journey with Jada. I'm so glad to be a part of this journey. And so just to say a little bit about myself, I am Shay Caju at Shay Caju, SHAYKEJU. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I am a 15-year public school educator, teacher, leader also, and I am a creative also, like Jada said. I work in a church. Greater St. Stephen is the church that I presently work at. I also work here in Louisiana with public schools as an instructional coach. So I've had many various leadership roles throughout my journey as a creative, as a career woman, as just a collegiate, like just all these different experiences that I've had. So I am currently continuing my education, pursuing my doctorate in executive leadership at Holy Cross. So still having to be thrown into that realm of leadership, right? And exploring what that means and exploring what it means to have ideas, right? To solve problems, to identify needs, to just jump in and think strategically and take action, right? So that's literally what I do in, interestingly enough, basically every avenue that I'm working in.
Just like this lovely creative here, I do a lot and have been involved in a lot. Right now, I am pursuing my master's in clinical mental health. Almost done. Whoop, whoop. At the same university as Shay Caju. Also, I work with Shay at a church organization, Greater St. Stephen, in media. And then I have a lot of other things that I do, but that's the forefront of what I do.
As a leader, for me, in the fields that I work in, it really forces me to, like I said, listen and really observe like what's necessary, which pushes you into this kind of field of work that allows you to become a part of the process and the experience that people are going through. And because you become a part of it, you have a more authentic approach to solving it, as opposed to, I'm going to tell you what you need to do. It's like, here, I'm doing this with you. Let me just go back and say, I'm not originally like raised here in the United States. So I also have a different cultural perspective of, let's say, government and that whole trickle down of capitalism and things of, like the powers that be. So when you start to work to change, right, you're trying to work to impact or affect change in your communities. You're not fighting against people, right? You're fighting against mindsets, against policies. You're really trying to transform organizations or like a school of thought so that there can be forward movement. And so everything that you create, everything that you do, everything that you pour yourself into becomes so deeply personal. But what I find is those who have governance don't always have that same experience.
I know recently after the George Floyd situation, that broke my heart. And I didn't know that I could be so deeply impacted by somebody I don't know. But I don't know, that situation just kind of changed me. And in an organization that I'm not going to mention, a lot of different things came up, like the microaggressions and the privilege and the gate, like you said, the surrounding topic about gatekeeping. And what we did, well, an email went out that was kind of offensive, talking about Juneteenth and everything, and that sparked it on top of the George Floyd situation. And what we did, we had conversations. Honest, candid conversations where we came to the forefront and we spoke our piece, how we felt about the different microaggressions that we deal with within that organizational structure. The different privileged things that happen for some versus others. Like we had that candid, hard, but necessary conversation. And I tell you, since then, I'm glad that it worked in our favor and we've seen shifts and changes. And I think that's necessary.
Influence is one avenue that I think now becomes our entry point, where we begin to leverage and be really strategic about what we leverage. We have to leverage our strength. And if influence is that thing, what are we influencing and how are we utilizing it to actually get the things that we're passionate about that need to be done? How are we leveraging it to get those things done? And how is it benefiting everyone as opposed to just me, right? As opposed to just my family, myself, my pockets, my household. Like, how are we really forwarding and moving ourselves as a group, whether that group be Black women, because I know that's who you're focusing on in this conversation. Whether that group be Black and brown people, whether that group be low income families, whether that group be creators of color, like when I say that like not people who create color, you understand what I'm saying, like creators, Black and brown creators, right? creatives, there I go. Creatives of color. So Black and brown creatives, who is that group and how are we going to leverage the power that we do have to really push our agenda forward? And I hate to use the word agenda because then it becomes so like, oh, you have an agenda. But,
don't just sit on the sideline and just have awareness, but what's the next step? We're going to have a conversation, but when we ended the conversation, I was very forthcoming in that conversation. I'm like, "Ooh, girl, this is the most but I said at the end of this conversation, like, let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. Let's make sure we change. Let's make sure we're not just talking and then 5 to 6 months later, a year later, we're in the same situation because nobody's challenged their thought process. Nobody's made substantial changes. We just talking just to sweep it under the rug and make it okay for the moment. Because let's be honest, that's what we do a lot, right? We'll talk about a situation and then no action, no substantial changes come. So I think awareness is the first step of the strategy to addressing gatekeeping and privilege and microaggressions and all of that stuff. But then conversations, like facing it head on with the opponent, right? Well, I don't want to say opponent, but with the individuals who are doing this, because sometimes they don't even know. I had a very, and I shared this with Shade too, I had a very interesting moment where I went to a concert out of town. It was at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And I think it was a very pivotal moment in that man's life. He was a white man, and what was beautiful is you saw unity. You saw all kind of nationalities, genders, all of that in one space. And we were there for the concert with Kirk Franklin, Hillsong, like so many different artists.
Yeah.
And I remember standing next to him and I was like, wow, this man looks, I don't like to profile people, but sometimes I'm right about what I can profile. And I'm like, this is pretty cool that all of us with the different walks and different thoughts are in one place. And he asked me a question. He asked me something like, I don't know what was happening in the world at that moment or what the temperature was in our, I don't know what was happening, but something substantially earth-shattering had just happened. And he asked me a question. He said, what can I do to bring about change? And I believe my answer, because it was so long ago, I said what Shay said. I said the first step is making sure you're educating yourself and making sure you're aware of how you're contributing or not contributing. Because I said, when you know and you don't do something or you don't speak about it, or low-key you just turn your head from the situation, you're a contributor to the problem.
Yeah.
And then I ran off because my favorite artist was up on stage, so
I think because it's always I feel like when tough questions are asked like these, there is automatically, I know people are going to be really like, like, why would you say that? And it's like, no, I need you to understand that those are questions that are actually being asked right now. And that is not a dig at any individual, but that it is a system thing, that it is a demonic system thing, to be honest. And like Shane, you were talking about this unawareness that other people are also in the room. And they also have different experiences from you. And I think as a leader, I think what makes you both such great leaders is that you take, you learn, then you pour. You take from that experience that you were like, then you're learning, like, you know what, next time, this is how I move, this is what I'm going to do. And then you pour into the next person, whether it's like, you know what, as a teacher, I'm doing this, 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 and this is how we're going to do it. Because listen, I don't want y'all to like go through what I went through this many years ago. Or you're like Angie and you're like, be the change you want to see. It's great. You can do both at the same time.
There were certain times when I could have said something as just a teacher and it was completely ignored. That's how I interpreted it. And I say it was ignored because no one said anything, no one responded, no one like it up. But another teacher will come and say the same thing. And then all of a sudden, oh, y'all have ears now, y'all can hear. And I think Angie did a great example of saying how she was able to talk with that man. I think when we had that conversation, I told a girl I wasn't telling him nothing. He was gonna have to go Google it for himself. Because it was kind of like a heated time. I was like, whatever. But it is important though that when we have those conversations, we also have a plan or a strategy for that conversation. Like, don't just bust up in there and saying whatever. We can acknowledge all we want. Like, how have we trained ourselves? Like, how do we discipline and strategize to respond to these things? Because I'm a planner and I'm gonna tell you, when you're upset because somebody has disrespected you, overlooked you, misrepresented you, and the list goes on, in the moment, you ain't really thinking about a plan. You more like, oh, you about to get a piece of my good Medea mind, okay?
Listen,
The play Medea, not even the one on the big screen. The plays, the stage play Medea. You about to get it, but then you thinking, like, I got bills to pay. And so, and then you start to see the higher up you go in leadership, you start to see it from the bird's eye view perspective that you get. You begin to realize, you know what, I can't just go ahead and just like start saying stuff and doing stuff. I have to be very strategic, even about the things I say. And I hate to say that, but, and it's for any situation.
Yeah.
This particular topic of Black women in leadership and the gatekeepers, we have these conversations with our Black sons and our nephews, right? Or our Black youth, right? When the police pulls you over, this is what you need to say, or this is what you need to do. And I'm not saying every conversation is going to have the same expectations or the same, outcome. All I'm saying is these are think about, because we know that it's not an easy fix. But I have a question that I want to put out to y'all, if that's okay, because I know I just ended up. What do we want the outcome to be? Because that's something that I consistently like. Okay, I want to be seen and heard, or I want to be acknowledged. I want to be whatever. Why? And to what end? Like, what is the outcome, right? And so that's a question that I have for y'all, and I don't know if anybody wants to jump in and answer that, but that's something that I really wonder, because you can fight for something, and then it's like, wait, why am I fighting for this again?
Yeah.
Why? I just want to be seen and heard. Like, do I just want to be acknowledged? I just want to be validated, or is there?
So I think for me, it's not just about me, right? I'm thinking of future generations. I'm thinking of when I procreate and bring forth life, the kind of world, the kind of experiences that I would want for my children. I'm thinking about even my existing nieces and nephew, who I look at as my babies. I want them to have a chance to enjoy the life that I see a lot of privileged people have. I mean, let's look at it from this perspective. From birth, well, let's look at it this way. Systematically, it's a system. It's like Jada said, it is a system. And it's a system that was set up against us, right? And there are a lot of things that are allotted to people who are not of color. You see that some kids, just because of the color of their skin, they automatically come into this world or life steps ahead, right? While some of us, because we're kingdom's kids, but some of us are fighting to even get to that place where they inherited somewhat, if I can say it that way. So I look at it like this. I want to bring about substantial change because I want it not just to be better for me, to open doors for me, to have those opportunities that are rightfully mine, not just because of me having skill sets or whatever, but because I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin or my gender, right? I don't want to have to jump through hoops or miss out on opportunities because you think I'm not worthy because of the way God made me. So I'm thinking of future generations, not just for my children, not just for my grandchildren, but for other deserving people who should not be judged by the color of their skin or their gender.
Shay put something in the chat that was really cool and inquired, what is behind the gate? And it's such a, it's like people who have desires, I feel like don't know their why. Like they kind of forgot in the midst of, you know, the search. It's almost like how kids get distracted where they're like, oh my God, look at everything. And they go like, oh, and they take so many detours that they like lost the reason of like why the fight was the fight in the first place, or why the treasure was so treasurable or valuable in the first place. And I think that that may or may not be the case in strategic networking workplaces. I think that some may have challenges in how they navigate um, utilizing the space and the privilege that they too have as people of color, working amongst people who are not of color. You know, someone's counting on me to like not mess up. Like I will make mistakes. I will grow and learn from them and make the choice to keep going and keep growing. But if I remain stagnant in the turmoil of ignorance just because of ... then I will lose not only an opportunity for me to experience a new thing, but also like people behind me to experience a new thing. And to know that, like to know that people have a chance to see through the lens of where you're going is like a movie that's about to premiere and then gets canceled. And like all the hype that's like, oh my God, I'm gonna watch this movie. Oh my God, this movie is a stuff. Oh my God. And then they're like, canceled, postponed, not gonna happen. The gross wasn't happening. Like, that's like your future. That's like, dang, the world premiere of like God, you know, opening so many doors and his promises are yes and amen. And they're like, yeah, you doing all this extra stuff on the side. You completely miss the promises of like his premiere of like revealing to you all the good things, not just to you, but to everybody who's attached to you and everybody who, you know, wants to collaborate with you, wants to write with you, wants to sing with you, wants to work with you. It's like not losing that. When Jesus like went to the cross and the Bible says like, you know, the joy was set before him, right? Like what was behind that gate? Freedom! There was freedom, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, and he had to give up everything.
I'm so glad you said that, because what I thought after I thought of that question was that because everybody is going to be looking for something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The gate, right? It's like, of course, a representation of whatever you need.
Right.
Whatever it is that you, right? I think you even talking about that promise, and I'm thinking about the process, right? Like, it doesn't matter what's behind the gate. I should be free to go get it for myself. If I am pressing toward this, I have a right to it. And anyone, you call the system demonic, right? Mm-hmm. Anyone who tries to keep someone from having a quality life, I just might call them demonic too. Something's wrong with that. Because why can't we all win? You know? Yeah. Why does it have to be the haves and the have-nots? Why does it have to be those who have health, those who can afford health care, and those who, well, I guess you're just going to have to die because you can't afford your insulin? Why does it have to be you get to have an education, you guys, because of the side of the tracks you were brought up on or the color of your skin or whatever? Nope, not so much.
7 mountains, media, all of that. A lot of those mountains, the gatekeepers are not our color. However, we need to strategically, if we ourselves are not the gatekeepers or not in the position to become a gate opener, talk to our younger generations who are up and coming, try to get them strategically. Of course, we don't want to force children to become things that we want them to become, because God gave every single child and every single person a specific purpose of being on this earth, right? I remember when I was a child, my mom tried to push me to be a nurse. I would have been miserable. I started off in school in nursing, hated it. Realized I don't like shots, don't want to give it to nobody. I don't even want to take it. Why would I want to give you something I don't like? Right. So thank God I quit nursing school the first semester. I'm a creative by nature, but I think that we need to be in a place where we're strategically building up our children to be in positions where they can be in education. Like Shay Keju, she's a master teacher, making decisions.
Yeah.
We can have Jadas who are in media in that realm. I'm in media. We can have those people in places of position and power who are righteous, who are right-minded, who can be in the position of being a gatekeeper, but a gate opener as well. So.
A gate maker, create a gate, create. That's what it is. One
Create
says,
a
let
gate.
there create the gate.
A gate.
Create the gate. Create a
Create
gate.
a gate. So many ways. I love the review because these are the 5 things we want all of you to walk away with. What are they, class? Awareness. That's one. The second one, having the conversation. That's 2. Number 3. What's number 3?
Your strategies. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do once you have the like follow through with something?
Right.
Right. What's the next
Follow
step?
through with something. What's the next step? 4. Are you a gatekeeper? Or no, what? 4.
Gate opener, gatekeeper.
What's
Oh,
your
that's-
role? 4.
no.
What's your role?
What's your role? Are you opening a gate or are you creating a gate? You got to know which one. What's your why? We're doing this because we're going to break open this gate, or we're doing this because we're going to create our own gate. And then 5, in that process, know your role. What part do you play in that big bird's eye view of like, what's the entire why?
And my 5 was stay connected.
Oh, that's right.
You
5.
gotta, but I think that goes along with what you said. What's your why? Like, ultimately, we know that, well, for me, I can't speak for y'all, but you know, everything we
the
do.
power is.
Yeah. We know
where the power is. Start. This year is the year of starting, right? And remaining consistent. And so thank you both so much. I love you too. I know we're literally all in New Orleans, but I love you too. So much.
we love you too.
We love you too.
Love you too. Now, see, why are you doing all that in front of the people? That's just all right.
Yes, we did.
That's just
Woo! All right, y'all.
thank you.
We love you.
I love you. This is Journey with Jay every Wednesday. Tune in next week. It's gonna be fun. And subscribe. Subscribe.
Right there. Right there. I think it's yeah.
It's gonna be right there.
It's gonna be in one of these directions that we're pointing in.
Like and subscribe because it helps the algorithm.
Yeah.
Don't forget likes.
Thank you.